Hey, I don't know why, but whirlybirds and roof ventilation seems to be such a huge topic. And it seems like everyone's got their own experiences and their own ideas about whirlybirds, how effective they are, and what it means for roof ventilation. And because there's been so many comments asking different questions about whirlybirds and roof ventilation, what we're going to do here at the Roofing Portal is we are now going to create a few videos trying to answer the questions that have been posed by you out there who've looked at my whirlybird YouTube video. So we'll be looking at different things like the difference between ventilation requirements and heating requirements. So getting rid of heat and getting rid of mold are two different things. So we've got to look at them as two different things rather than the same thing. What we're going to do on this video is we're going to make a fairly bold statement. And that statement is that on metal roofs, you don't need whirlybirds. So why don't you need whirlybirds on metal roofs? Well, our current opinion is that if the roof has been installed the old way, you may need whirlybirds and eaves vents. But if we install metal roofs the way that we're proposing that you should, then in theory, you don't need whirlybirds and you don't need eaves vents. So how easy is that? Just a little bit of a tweak in how we install a metal roof will mean that all the ventilation requirements are solved and no eaves vents and no whirlybirds. Life is so simple. Now, in view of the latest National Construction Code requirements on roof ventilation, I think there's a need to revisit a bit of detailing of what we do under the roofs that we put on. And in this video, we'll look at what we do under metal roofs, in this case, a corrugated roof. It'll be similar for other types of roof, but we'll look at the very common corrugated roof. Now, what we're going to look at is how we create an air inlet. And this will be along the gutter zone so that air can be drawn in and into the roof cavity and then released back out at the top of the roof, normally at a ridge. Okay, what we're going to look at is typically what happens at a hip. And it's a good area to look at because it's got a ridge cap that goes this way, and then potentially all the way up the roof there's another one of these roll top ridge caps. So normally on a metal roof we've got an anti-condensation layer underneath, and the reason for the anti-condensation layer is that it prevents moist air from reaching the underside of the roof sheet. So when the top of the roof gets cold, there's no condensation directly under the roof because condensation in your attic area can cause problems. Now, if you follow the instruction guidelines from people like Bradford, who produces the anti-condensation blanket, the recommended detail for installation of the building blanket where it approaches the gutter is you either have the condensation blanket right near the back edge of the gutter, but never lapping into the gutter because that would cause water to wick up. There's also the option of cutting a bit off the insulation and leaving a leg of the membrane that can in fact go and drop into the gutter. Now, hardly anyone does that. So normally when a roofer puts a blanket insulation on a roof installation, they try to get the edge of the building blanket as close to the back of the gutter as possible. Looks very neat. The same thing where you've got a hip, you would cut the blanket insulation as close to the hip raft as you can, and the other blanket would be on the other side, and you'll have the blanket insulation fairly close together, leaving a very small gap. So traditionally, this is what most roofers will do because that's kind of what the guidelines tell them what they should do. But now that in certain areas of Australia, we have the requirements for adequate roof ventilation, we should look at this detail again and come up with a way that we can provide the inlet and also not to compromise the function of the building blanket. And this is what I think we should be doing from now onwards. in the climate zones that require roof ventilation. And typically this would be in the temperate, in the colder regions of Australia. And if you are in Queensland or in most of the hot areas of Australia, this probably doesn't apply to you, but you may take this into consideration. So this is what I am proposing. So this is how most roofers would be putting their blanket installation in. What I'm proposing to create an area where air can go into the cavity, right? Because what you have, this is the bottom screwing button. So this is the last button before the gutter. All right, so what I'm proposing is that we actually change the standard detail of where the blanket insulation ends. Instead of the blanket insulation going all the way to the gutter, what we do is we push the blanket up and we finish it on the last button. And the reason is because we need the blanket to be held on the last button because that's a screwing line. So what we do is we create a zone in here. Right? So there's that gap, and we create a zone in here for air to go into the roof cavity. And also, as we go higher up the hip or on the ridge, we create a zone where the air can come out. So you might think, how will the air get in that gap when you've got a roof sheet over it? So if you look at the little detail here, you can see that the blanket is hard up against the last button and the sheet goes over the top. So the fiberglass will actually block any airflow on the roofs. But because we've created this little gap, air can come in on the roll, and there's an air space for the air to come in, and air will go in under this roll, come out, and then it allows the air to go into the roof cavity and then rise up the roof and out the top of the roof. So this is one way of creating adequate inlet areas for the proper roof ventilation to occur. Now, some of you may ask, well, you're going to compromise the roof here by moving the blanket insulation off the gutter, leaving an air gap, because you'll get a band of condensation right here, which you're trying to prevent on the underside of a metal roof. Well, I guess the answer to that is that with everything we do, there are trade-offs. Nothing's perfect. There may be a small band of condensation at the edge of the roof, but in practical terms, if that ever happens, the condensation will gather on the underside and it will actually drip back into the gutter over this short length. So I don't think having this little detail where you create a gap here will compromise the anti-condensation features of this roof by very much. And I think this is such a neat little detail change that no matter where you are in Australia, instead of pushing the building blanket towards the gutter, you should always finish it on the last button and leave the gap. Because if you try to bring the blanket towards the gutter, there's always the chance that a bit of the insulation will drip into the gutter and then wick water back up the roof. So this is a much safer way of putting the blanket insulation in, and it achieves the purpose of an inlet area for the air to go in and provide the ventilation requirements. Now let's have a look at what happens at the top of the roof. Now in this example, we've got a gable and we've got an apron flashing here at the top of the roof. Normally you would have a roll top ridge cap, and you have a ridge cap right on top of the roof. So what actually happens on the top of the roof? Now, while we love the sight of whirlybirds on the top of the roof, in this particular instance, there's really no need for whirlybirds on the top of the roof, because what happens is that the blanket insulation is cut back from the ridge board. So it leaves a little gap. So there's a gap up the top there where the blanket doesn't go and hit the ridge board. And what happens then is that the cold air goes in at the eaves, and then there's a gap, and then it comes back out right there. So the air will flow out on the valleys of the roof. So air goes in, air comes out. There's really no need for a whirlybird because convection means the hot air rises and hot air wants to escape, and when it comes out it draws the cooler air in from the bottom of the roof. So I know that in the windier parts of Australia, roofers want to scribe the capping so that it prevents wind-driven rain from travelling up the roof. Now that may or may not be needed, but I know that in many parts of Australia we don't scribe the ridge capping. It's left as a bare edge, and what that means is that we've got a bigger air gap for the air to come back out. So all the hot air comes out from that gap. And that actually reminds me of a picture that some roofer posted on Facebook, and it showed that there was a zone of like soot right downstream of the ridge capping, and the question was, what actually causes that? And I thought I had an answer for that, so I actually drew up a little picture and showed what was actually happening. But I don't think I was quite correct in diagnosing what the problem was, because I think what actually happens is that on this particular picture, on this particular roof, what they had is possibly an adequate space down near the eaves to let the air go in, and they had the blanket cut to allow the air to come back out. So what would happen is that there's a natural ventilation drawing air in and then back out. And because the environment may be a little bit dirty, a little bit sooty, so the air actually draws the soot through the cavity and back out again. So you would have, I guess, dirty air coming out of the upstream vent, so where the air comes out. Then you have the soot that gathers on the roof close to where the ridge capping is, and you get this zone of a dirty roof. And I think this is what actually happened on this roof, is that we've got a natural ventilation going on in the roof cavity, and we've got dirty air coming out, and it shows that the whole concept of getting air in at the bottom and letting it come out at the ridge capping, it actually works because we got a picture that actually shows it working. So as a result of this little presentation, you can see that we may be quite correct in that metal roofs installed in this particular fashion will not need inlet vents because there's an area for the air to go in, and it won't need outlet vents because the ridge capping allows the air to come out. So I think our claim that you don't need whirlybirds on metal roofs if you install metal roofs in this particular fashion is quite valid. What do you think? And if you're really interested in whirlybirds and roof ventilation, cooling and heating and so on and so forth, then you may want to come back over the next few weeks and months, because we'll have a whole series of videos discussing all the details of roof ventilation and what works and what doesn't work.